Global mobility I think in a corporate setting is coordinating the movement of employees from one country to another, and it requires collaboration from many business stakeholders and external partners, including immigration, tax, relocation, global travel, and even the business themselves when it comes to managers playing an active role. So that's how I would define global mobility on its face. But of course, there's so many soft skills that go along with making this a successful function. I would say empathy, patience, clear and proactive communication with all of the various stakeholders involved, and just managing expectations. So that's really a very key part of making global mobility a success as well.
I would describe global mobility, well, first thing, because I think this is something that a lot of people actually do not know about. I feel like global mobility is truly very niched, and particularly in APAC, I feel like most of the time when I'm trying to explain what I do to friends and family, they would have less of an idea. So I always begin by saying that, we are a branch of, human resource, and we support employees when it comes to relocating, which means moving themselves, uprooting themselves and their family from one location to another. As easy as it may sound, there is actually a lot of different things to take care of, and that could be from one thing, which is not to get yourself into trouble with in the eyes of law, so immigration, facilitating the visa process, ensuring that they are compliant from a tax standpoint, and right down to the nitty-gritty things, or logistically, like packing their household goods and enrolling their children into a school.
I think for people that are looking at a career in global mobility, it is really important to understand what even is global mobility and what are all the different areas and where could you focus your attentions in your career. Sitting in a corporate role, it's very important for me to have a strong understanding of payroll, a strong understanding of tax and immigration, and then of course the general relocation piece as well. So if your interest lies in compensation and benefits, that could be a good role for you. If you are more interested in the cross-cultural side of it, maybe you'd want to look at a different type of career as a cross-cultural trainer. Maybe you like to help from a more consulting and strategic perspective. So you'd like to work in a position where you're helping draft policies and do benchmarking. So there's so many types of global mobility is so niche, and then within global mobility, there's so many different types of areas where you could go really deep as well. So I would encourage people to really explore all the different areas.
I think moving forward, organisations will have a hybrid of remote assignments and your more traditional models. I think that the issues that come with that are some challenges around the more traditional hierarchy structures that many organisations have. There is some discussions that remote assignment workforce will actually take one step further and go towards a task-based workforce where you have an individual in a country performing multiple tasks, potentially for multiple business units for a business. So it's almost, I guess, a bit like being a contractor within your own organisation. You're wearing multiple hats, but to one organisation. So I think that it's absolutely something that is here to stay, and something that we need to build some mechanisms around to make sure that that we're adhering to those foreign jurisdictional requirements for the activities that individual is doing. So that's a challenge in itself, how we skill up and not only from a knowledge-based perspective, but also from a administrative and manpower perspective, how we support that volume of work as mobility practitioners. But I think more broadly that traditional hierarchy within an organisation is going to get challenged by having that remote working assignment or task-based focused roles within an organisation. It's really going to mix things up.
So global mobility, I think it means, it may mean different things into different markets and different companies. Because we can see that in some companies it's a very important function, where in others they may question the function and if they are using it effectively. But I think for me the global mobility is becoming one of the core functions of the businesses in general. That's where I see right now in terms of the functionality.
When we're choosing mobility suppliers and when we, for example, completing RFPs with them, I think it's very important to ask them directly what kind of initiative they have towards sustainability. Is sustainability important to them? What are they doing in order to to help with the sustainability efforts? Because a lot of companies, especially in the tech industry, sustainability is like a very important topic, right? It's something that it's very important for us, and we are trying to encourage all our suppliers to do a lot of efforts in that area.
In building, relationships both internally and externally with the extended stakeholders within global mobility, I mean, some of the challenges that we're facing today is that we just don't have the opportunity to do the face-to-face meetings as we had done in the past. If I think about, connecting with vendors that support my program, I would meet with them probably on a quarterly basis, at a minimum twice a year, and we had an opportunity to speak business and obviously run through programs and the relationship from a contractual perspective, but also to kind of socialize and build those relationships. The same would apply in building those relationships with extended internal teams in terms of being able to meet and walk over to somebody's desk. Some of those things are now obviously not available, but it is absolutely critical and essential that we continue to dialogue, to get on each other's calendars, to set meetings, to discuss things regularly, and to really continue to share what's happening from a global mobility perspective with the extended stakeholders so that they understand how they can best support us, and of course for us to understand how changes and shifts in their deliverables, if I think about compensation cross-reporting and working with the payroll teams, really understanding what they need and us being able to provide data and information to do their jobs. So I'm just right now thinking about, we're coming on year end. There's a lot that has to be done in terms of cross-reporting. And capturing relocation costs and expenses from a payroll perspective on annual statements. So it's really important at this time to make sure that both internal and external stakeholders are understanding of the time crunch, the deadlines, and so communication continues to be really critical and essential in making sure that all of the partners, internal and external, are working really closely together, are in sync, and continue to foster those really, really great relationships with both those formal business meetings, but also with those social things that actually help us to come together and to work more effectively.
Yeah, so budget approval is interesting, and I think it depends a little bit on your company and how they do budgeting and how maybe profitable, what is their profit margin as well, on how open they are. Budgeting can be challenging. A lot of the times there's kind of two ways that you see mobility set up. Sometimes the budget for all of the moves is owned within HR, within a function. More often than not, what I've seen is that the costs are actually getting allocated out to the different business functions. So depending on which way your company is structured, I think impacts how you go about budgeting. Obviously, if the actual costs reside with your stakeholders, with the business groups, I think it's really important that if you're thinking about making a change, that you're socializing and sharing with them like what that change is and what the benefit or value will be to them. And sometimes it could be a cost savings instead of a budget increase because you've changed suppliers. It could be an increase because there's new compliance requirement that requires, additional forms to be filed at X cost. So I would just say it's really about the communication. Now, if the budget resides within your function, and let's say that you own it, I actually think it makes it potentially a little bit easier because you have more just control, for lack of a better word, over how that gets budgeted. And then it's, in any case, it's always about having the data to really support and back up what you need in order to deliver the service at the level that you want to deliver it at. And one other consideration too is as you're thinking about your program and you're thinking about budgeting, most companies, especially in HR, you decide where you want to philosophically be. Do you want to be 50th percentile? Do you want to be 75th percentile? And I think really understanding, where you want to be, either HR holistically or the mobility program itself, can really help you then come with that kind of compelling data to say, here's, best practice at 50th percentile. And so here's what it's going to take from a budgetary perspective to support that.
It's everything. I'm actually into deep in the global mobility business, and for the companies that I have worked with, it represents the ability to grow and to deliver the best talent in the different countries that they have presence on.
So when I think of global mobility, I think of getting the right people in the right places at the right time. And ultimately, global mobility should be used as a talent strategy to attract and retain diverse talent. So while mobility professionals definitely are the gatekeepers and coordinate a lot of the logistics and make sure that we're staying compliant with immigration and tax and things like that, we're also a strategic partner. So we basically advise and counsel and educate businesses and come up with creative solutions to help businesses manage and meet their goals. And we also empower employees. And the mobility program is empowering employees to advance their career. You will find that in a lot of global companies, global mobility opportunities is important for employees as it relates to their career advancement and growth.